All right. We're live. It's the penultimate countdown slash prediction slash speculation stream for the Acolyte episode 7. It's the second to last one. Get hype! Get hype!
Let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, and tonight we're joined by Pet Patrol Star Wars, who's made it to every one of these so far. So props to him. I don't know why he keeps coming back. And then we got the Star Wars Galaxy as well. I think this is like your third time, so now you're becoming close to a regular yourself. No.
Yeah, close enough. You just got to pay me a little bit more, and then I'll be on every week.
Okay. Yeah. We'll work out the details in the meantime. But yeah, how are you guys doing?
Oh, good. Excited because I think we know a little bit of what we're getting tonight, but not a ton. Some big reveals, maybe. I'm excited.
Yeah.
It's so hype, bro. It's so hype.
Yeah, I think the funnest part for me now is I truly have no idea. Well, okay, we probably know it's going to be a flashback, but just in general, these last two
Not the whole
episodes,
thing, though.
yeah, we don't know. But like outside of that, we don't really know what's going to happen. If it's a flashback? What's going to happen in the flashback? You know, if some of it's not a flashback, where do we go from here? We kind of left at a very teaser-ish mark with them teasing the possibility of Osha and May potentially like swapping places, little role reversal almost.
Yeah, it's intriguing. Last episode, I had to watch it a couple times, but I did end up really enjoying it. Osha especially is, I mean, super intriguing, putting on the mask to end it and just kind of learning about the emotions harbored deep down. And we ended with Soul basically being like, all right, I'm finally just going to get this junk off my chest, really reveal it all, which I think we're going to lead right into this episode. So excited for that. May, I don't know where May's going. Maybe good character, maybe just going to go off on her own into the galaxy. Maybe she's going to die in the next two episodes. I don't know. Like, May to me is just I don't have any idea, but yeah, again, that's why I'm excited to watch it.
Heck yeah.
I'm with you there. Like, I don't know about you guys, but for me, like the duel in the fifth episode was like awesome. I love the duel, but like I don't know what it was about the last episode, but it hit really hard for me. It was my favorite episode of the series so far. Like I just really,
Wow.
I just really enjoyed it. And that's probably because I heard like the Leslie interview where she was talking about that line that Obi-Wan used in A New Hope about the word seduction to the dark side and how they explored that in the episode. And I was really interested in how they would do that, the emphasis on the word seduction. And so I think that also added to like not just expectations but also enjoyment going into it because I was like, all right, let's see what you're gonna do here, like, you know what I mean? So I'm excited for what comes in this episode.
The
Yeah.
seduction worked on me too. It was really well done. I'm ready to turn to the dark side.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I posted a couple different times. We gotta say, Knights of Ren confirms. We got Ben Solo, the prequel with Kamir
Yes.
in that episode. And the seduction was a bit spicy. I thought for a second I was watching the wrong show. I was watching some House of the Dragon or something like that. But no, I like the boldness. You know, it's a bit of a darker show. It's not like I don't think that's necessarily controversial or anything, but I like that they're not kind of afraid to kind of put it out there. And yeah, this episode for me was up there between them. It's kind of like for the second best episode, it's either like episode 2 for me right now or this one. For kind of a number of reasons, it's kind of a toss up. But I do know some people, and I talked with Dan some a little bit, and he said he can appreciate and he enjoyed a good amount of this last episode as well compared to some of the earlier season. So I don't know, maybe that's what some other people are thinking, but I enjoyed it, and it wasn't what I was expecting. I think that's the biggest thing from watching it. I really expected Kamir to kind of like just immediately start chasing after to basically confirm the kills. So it took a different direction than I was expecting, and I think that kind of added to the mystery and kind of the enjoyment of it.
That actually kind of threw me. I texted Anthony this like immediately. It kind of threw me off a little bit and I don't want to say took away some of my enjoyment, but like really put me in a place where I had to consider, why or what's going on here. Because I also thought going in that it was going to start with Kimir, the Sith, being like, I cannot let Sol leave this planet because he knows who I am. So I was a little bit shocked that both of them were just, gone, and Kimir seems content with just letting Sol go. He got what he wants, I guess, in Osha, but I don't know. That part for me was just a little like, why let him go? You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's totally fair. I think the first like 10 or 15 minutes, it was kind of like it's almost like I wish he was for this like part of me. Like I wanted to see him just get after it. Um, but I did kind of like the not to say slower pace, but more like character development
Mhm.
aspects of the story. Get a little more insight on the characters and some of their motives. It was an especially good episode for Kamir. I mean, I think any episode he's in is good, but
Yeah.
I'm more so just saying like from an acting standpoint and get a lot more background and subtlety. Like he's just so indifferent about the way he conducts himself.
Yeah, I think Kemir in that episode really shined, but I do agree with you guys in that aspect because like he said, he messaged me like right after the episode, and I was like, oh yeah, that's true. Um, but I think it's alluding that Kemir knows more about Soul, aside from the fact that Soul kind of beat the crap out of him physically. I feel like there's like this alluding to the fact that he knows that no matter what Soul does at this point, he might actually end up looking like the villain, which is kind of alluded to by I don't know if it's the Jedi Knight or a Padawan that's with Master Vernestra, but he's like, did Soul do this? Why would he tell us if he did this? And it's kind of like, are the Jedi really going to frame someone, one of their own, kind of like the wrong Jedi arc? Are they going to wrong Jedi Soul in this scenario? And Soul, not Soul, but Kemir kind of assumes that's going to happen, and that's probably why he left him. Um, I feel like that's something that's going to be answered in this episode. Um, One thing I will say though before we move to the next topic is about the High Council. He said he was going to go to the High Council. I'm curious if we actually end up seeing them interact with the High Council or not, because that could be huge. We'll see an entirely new council with probably some familiar faces on it, but that could be huge.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, Leslie Headland's favorite arc of the Clone Wars is the
Wrong
wrong
Jedi.
the wrong Jedi, wrong
Yeah.
Jedi. Yeah.
Oh, it's a great
So
arc.
seems to be taking some inspiration here with Soul for sure. I'm with you, and that's a good point. Yeah, interested interested to see where that goes. I do think the Padawan or that we saw is actually like I've read somewhere just like an assistant, so not a Padawan, just like someone that works in Vernestra's office. So interesting part of the Jedi Order that we haven't really seen before.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's big for a number of reasons. Anthony, like you said, and with just the potential of seeing the High Council, and also with you saying basically looking at this from a season 5 Clone Wars perspective, and that idea we've been talking about how the Jedi aren't necessarily always doing the best things, at least from their point of view, they are. But if Soul does come forward, like, what's the decisions that's going to be made about High Council? Are they then going to just kind of play it off and like, it's just a cog of the machine? Like, I don't. We've got tens of thousands of Jedi. Like, is it that big of a deal? Or how are they going to play it off? That kind of that question of how they're going to deal with this situation with the potential of the Sith being leaked or whatever.
Yeah, and we might get more Jedi that have reason to hide what's going on because some people made the connection of Kemir's scar on his back not exactly looking like the most traditional lightsaber wound. It's, pretty squiggly around there. Either it's like a good slash, or maybe it is a lightsaber whip from Vernestra herself, and she was like, I think she had an idea that it wasn't Soul on the Kofar. She said it was something to tip the scales, whatever that means. I don't think, if she thought it was Soul, she might have just said Soul. So intrigued to see that she thinks it might be someone else, and maybe once she had Kemir as a Padawan. Kemir did mention that he was a Jedi a long time ago, like really emphasized long time ago. So maybe he's learned some, age tricks, keep him
Yeah.
looking good, but I don't know. Either way, Ernestra, maybe there's a connection here with Kimir. What do you guys think about that?
Bismo?
Oh, well, I was just gonna say the age aspect though, that was actually interesting to me. Just subtle line saying it was a long time ago for him. So like, how old is Kabir? And like, I like that idea of like, is there some kind of Sith sorcery he's got himself into? Is he not a traditional Sith? Is he just more of a dark side wanderer that stumbled across some Sith alchemy of sorts?
Yeah, I'll even piggyback off that too. In Tales of the Jedi, Dooku, he's like 70. I think he's 70 years old with all black hair, like not even a hint of grayness. And you see Obi-Wan at what was he, 38 in Revenge of the Sith? He's got gray streaks in his hair and stuff like that. So I mean, we could see even more of these individuals with the young age kind of aspect or age look at being an older age. But I do like the point you brought up about him being a Jedi and the curiosity of who he could be connected back to.
Yeah,
It's interesting because, as we know, the dark side. Even I do think this even like happens with Dooku, Palpatine. I think like it can certainly age you once you really embrace it fully. So I wonder if either Kimir is hiding what he really looks like somehow with some sort of magic, or it just hasn't taken the toll on him yet because the dark side corrupts you mentally and physically. So interested to see if maybe there's some different things going on here because you're right. Dooku did look younger for sure, but by the time we see him in Attack of the Clones and then Revenge of the Sith, not so much. So that may have had nothing to do with writing or George Lucas thinking anything, but like dark side corruption is a thing. So interested to see if there's more going on with Kimir and his age here than just young. Maybe some magic. Maybe he knows which magic. Maybe this leads into Plagueis wanting eternal life. Who knows? But I'm gonna get a lot of answers here. Hopefully.
I kind of want to piggyback off what you said because like I was just writing a video for like the Night Sisters and like they don't really age that much, and I'm curious because I know we know he uses the dark side, but wouldn't him putting the mask on kind of make him rely on the Force naturally, which the Force naturally is light? So is it possible that he is a user of dark arts, like the witches of Dathomir, for example, but not like a Sith where the darkness fully corrupts his body, but he is able to use it in moderation, kind of like Vapad in a way, where he's like able to use attributes of the dark side, but not fully be enveloped by it. Is that something that you think could be possible with Kimir?
Yes. Do we know? I don't. I should know more on this. Are the Knights of Ren They are, right? Knights of Ren are Force sensitive.
I
is
think
that a
it's
requirement? Or
I don't think so. Like at least the lead one.
the lead
Right.
one, yes, but I don't think the other ones have to be Force. I don't think the ones from like Rise of Skywalker. I don't think
Mhm.
they're like they're not like Jedi minimum Force sensitive. I think that's
Okay.
what I interpreted from what little I know.
saying like Sabine
Yeah.
level.
Yeah, like Sabine level,
Interesting,
like
sure.
10 years worth of
Sorry,
training to
Sabine.
get something
Sorry.
out.
Just a little subtle.
Yeah.
You did some cool stuff in Ahsoka. Kind of pulled that out there. Yeah, this is great discussion. I'm not gonna lie, while you guys are talking, just Night Sister magic and all that, it makes me want to replay Jedi Survivor again. Just love Cal and Marin's dynamic, just so great. Some of the best things.
Never played
ever.
those games.
Dude, you gotta just
I know,
even
it's
just for the
criminal.
the story. That's why I like.
I've
That's
seen
like
playthroughs. Yeah.
that's fair. That's fair. But it is pretty. It's definitely a step up from the last or the first game, and the first game was very good too. So that's something I'm like almost equally or more excited than some like shows for is that third game and to see where that story kind of goes. But a little side tangent. Definitely would recommend Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor. So well, unless you guys want to continue that topic or not, or what do you think?
Go. We can move on. I
Okay.
think I'm ready.
So
All
let's
good.
let's get into some predictions now of the flashback itself and some of the answers to some of our questions. Like tonight, are we going to get some answers to episode 3, like the flashback? Are we going to see a different perspective of what actually happened at the witch castle on which planet? Which planet was it?
Brendok.
Brenda.
Brendok.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. What do you think?
We've seen a lot in the trailers and the TV spots, which I still have been mostly avoiding, but sometimes you just can't. But yeah, we've seen quite a bit. I think Torben attacking Kilnaka. We've seen Indara fighting. We've seen someone climbing up the side of the haven, the witch haven. There's a lot we've seen, and they're gonna fit a lot more into these whatever we're gonna get in flashbacks. Maybe 10 minutes, 20 minutes, hell, maybe another entire episode. So very, very intrigued by what we're gonna see. My prediction is that the witches kind of use their magic to once again turn either Torben, maybe Kilnaka, the way they did with Torben in the episode that we saw, where they just like he got the black eyes, was kind of taken over for a second. I think the Jedi are going to infiltrate the base. Witches are going to do that to Torben. Fight is going to break out, and the Jedi are going to be able to, or they're going to say, okay, these witches are dangerous, and ultimately wipe them out and accidentally maybe cause a fire that burns everything down. That Soul says, "Oh, I'm gonna have to blame this one on May."
Too
Turns out
dangerous.
Soul's not the greatest guy. So that's kind of my bold prediction here. Is just that Jedi infiltrate the place, get into an all-out fight with the witches, kill all the witches, and basically burn the place down. And not in the best light for Soul and the Jedi friends. The rest of them are dead though, so just Soul remaining.
They're too dangerous
What
to
do you
be
guys-
kept alive. That's what they'll say.
Yes, that'd be great.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm not expecting a full flashback like the one we got before. I think in episode 3, like they were still doing a bit of the world building, which is why I feel like since episode 4, it's kind of just gotten a lot quicker. Like everything's been a lot more fluid because they were just doing a lot of world building, which I think was necessary, especially in a new era. But I think we spend like half the episode with this flashback, and well, not even half the episode, maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes is all that necessary. I don't know if you guys saw the leaks for, not the leaks, but like the I guess
Runtime.
they're leaks, the runtime leaks. Yeah.
Yeah, I did see
Um,
those.
Mm-mm.
You
yeah.
want to
So
hear?
Yeah.
yeah, do you want to hear?
Yeah.
43 minutes per episode is what they said.
Yeah,
So
Really?
that's,
you get some a
Ooh.
little more juice to them, which should mean we should have
Good.
room for a flashback and progression of the story tonight. I would
Yeah.
say. I
Mhm.
don't see a
yeah.
flashback taking 43 minutes.
No,
No, I
definitely.
agree completely.
Yeah, definitely not this late. So I think we definitely get the insight we're looking for. I think we're gonna get May's reaction. We're probably gonna flip back to um, OSHA on whatever that planet is, Octu 2, or
Yes.
inverse
Yeah.
Octu. But
Octu.
I think at the end
Hawk 3.
we might kind of like set up like this big reveal here where you see maybe something else lurking on that planet, or maybe even the my bold prediction is we see the Jedi Council. That's my bold prediction. I know they said going into this that they weren't going to do cameos, but we saw Kiadi-Mundi. I'm
Yeah.
not throwing it out. After
Yeah.
Kiadi-Mundi, I'm not throwing it out.
I think it's more likely we see, and this is probably ultra bold, ultra wrong. I think it's more likely we see Tenebris or Plagueis than the Jedi Council today.
Oh, well, okay. Now
Probably not
what do
Plagueis.
I choose? I choose. I probably go with the dark side. The dark side's always working. Okay, sorry. I did see something in the chat. It's related to what we were just talking about. But
Yeah,
KG
go for
had
it.
said, "I don't think OSHA has turned just curious or whatever." But like, do you think that OSHA has turned yet? Because I'm in the camp that I personally do, just because I thought she was pretty prone to emotion as is, and I think it would be kind of unsuspecting. I mean, her sister is flipping sides pretty easily. I think it's just from both of them having a trauma past, as Soul would say. You know, ultimately why she's getting kicked out of the order. Um, Personally, I think she is going to become the acolyte. That's my bold prediction or whatever. Like she puts that. Okay, maybe it's not that bold, but like I don't think people would necessarily expect that. But I think she's keeping the mascot.
I think she's like dark side. Yes, sure, but dark side the level where she'd be able to like not physically, but like even consider being able to like slaughter the Jedi like Kimir did. I don't think she's like even close to being that far dark side. But I think if there's a spectrum, that's dark, lights, I'd say she's 51 or 52% dark side now, and maybe Kimir's really got to keep pushing, but he's doing pretty good. And at the end of the day, he did still stab her friends right in front of her, but May and Osha have switched sides quite a bit in this series, so I do think she's leaning dark right now. Anthony, what do you think? Or Bismo?
Well, okay, I'll let Anthony go in a sec. I just wanted to say, just to throw it out there, Anakin goes pretty quickly from a mostly positive person to let's slaughter a bunch of younglings. So out there.
Yeah, but he had motivation. What's Osha's like motivation? Not like
yeah.
rightfully motivation, by the way. He didn't. He shouldn't have slaughtered the younglings.
I would say,
but like,
I mean, I think that's like, yeah, that is true. Like, what drives, what is the motivation behind it? I think
he thought he had to do it in order to save, like, Padme's life, I guess.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, she's definitely messing with her, so she might think that our dark side is the path to defeat him. She might think of it as something like that, or maybe she's upset with Soul for the fact that he clearly didn't tell her something, and this has been alluded at, a couple of times where he said he was going to get to her, and maybe she thinks that her whole life kind of is built on a lie, and everything, a lot of her philosophy and all this trauma, needless trauma. I know it's getting pretty deep and kind of analyzing it, but I'm saying there's a possibility. That's my devil's advocate. What do you think, Anthony?
All right, so I got a lot of ideas, and I'm gonna need you to bear with me for a second because I'm gonna just start spitting them out.
Go for it.
All right, so first thing is, while we're talking about the flashback, I'm thinking two things. First of all, I'm thinking two things. We could see, this is what I'm thinking. We could do like kind of, all right, so the first thing I'm thinking, all right, here, are you ready? The first thing I'm thinking is when Soul's telling his flashback, Kimir is alluded to knowing what's going on there. The Jedi obviously didn't tell anybody. My question is was he there? The second part to that is, if he was there, could we see a thing where Kimir is telling his perspective at the same time Soul is telling his? I don't know how they could do that, but you can have like mixed narration. So Soul is like telling her like, and then we came there, and then Kimir's like, and then they came there, like spitballing there. But could they do something like that, or do we see a different flashback, completely unrelated to Brendok, but something that Kimir uses as leverage to push Osha further down the dark path? As we were talking about with motivations, she doesn't have a motivation per se, but he knows everything that's happened to her thus far in the show. Out of nowhere, he's like, remember that friend Yord of yours? Yord literally was going to arrest her without. How would he know that? He had to know. I mean, Sith traditionally have been friends with the Trade Federation, so could that be something there? And then even with the Jecki thing, he wasn't present for Jecki, so you forged this attachment with Jecki, even though that it's a one-sided connection, which is a pretty deep message, honestly. But are we going to know why he knows this stuff? Because we could see a flashback with Kimir to Brendok per se, or to what you guys were saying earlier, your highest most out of line thought for the episode is seeing those Sith Lords. Do you see someone else that does that wound to his back? Not necessarily that Vernestra did it, but maybe someone darker did it, or maybe Vernestra did it. Do we get the backstory for that scar? Is what I'm saying.
And I like the idea of like, how did he know about Yord and Jecki? I like that. Maybe there's a spy in the Order, or maybe someone's relaying information to him. That's really interesting. Yeah. I did not consider that at all. I guess I was just like, yes, he knows that because of course. Good point. Yeah.
My simple answer would be maybe Osha's mind's easier to kind of reach into currently.
But he said he couldn't read her mind early in the episode.
Oh, he did?
Because he walked up to her and was like, I know what you're feeling, basically, and was like, now you're wondering how I can read your mind. And he was like, I can't, but I can feel your emotions.
Well, I think that's what I was kind of getting at.
You think about
like,
Yord? Okay.
I think to some extent, like you can't use the Force to like figure out exactly word for word what somebody's thinking. But like, for example, in episode 1, we hear one of Ki-Adi-Mundi's lines, I believe he says, "Your thoughts dwell on your mother," or something like that. Similar to that, you can kind of pinpoint where the thoughts are being directed towards to, though, or just in moments where somebody like slightly falls to the dark side. I think this may does this happen with Luke at some point where Vader kind of edges it on a little bit, saying like, "I can feel your anger." I mean, it's been happening before.
Your sister. You
Yeah.
have a sister.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I mean, I guess just get at where some of those thoughts are being directed as what I'm getting at. So maybe he can sense the not necessarily the hatred, but potentially the hatred towards some of those companions that she was with, even if he didn't know some of their names necessarily.
That would make
Interesting.
sense. Yeah, that would definitely make sense for that.
We'll
Yeah,
see.
I'm trying to think about it. It's good. I'm excited, man. The more
Yeah,
we
well,
talk
yeah.
about it, I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm getting
I mean,
pumped
it's less
up.
than an hour, so just like I think last week our the prediction that was here wasn't necessarily as on point as the previous week. I don't think so.
Not at all. We were so far off.
Yeah,
It
I wasn't here
happened.
last week.
It happened. We kind of went through. Well, we went through like a few different like really big ideas, but none of them really hit. So that's what also added to my like confusion at first, because generally we're pretty good at that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think I mean, I've been predicting the flashback episode for 4 weeks now. So if it's not this one, I'm gonna look even more stupid. It's gotta happen eventually. But no, I'm excited for this. Yeah, what do you guys think last week was gonna happen? I mean, I for sure thought, like I said earlier, that Soul was gonna end up fighting him again, but you guys
Yeah.
were just way off.
Yeah, I mean, I thought we were gonna see a hunt kind of take place. I think the
Yeah.
only thing that did happen, that I think the thing we did call to give credit was we called like he'll try to make a transmission and there could be some kind of interference or something like that disrupts it, and that did happen. So to speak, we got some points, but like
There you go.
it didn't
Yeah.
happen in the way that we necessarily thought, though. Well, I guess we also we did call one scenario too with Venestra saying, or like we predicted to some extent Venestra, how if she does get the transmission off and contacts Venestra, how does it stay kind of contained to not like grow throughout the order that people know what's going on? Because obviously to some extent that's not going to make sense, but that exactly happens with Venestra. She's like, come with me, like the small little band, and like I gotta go deal with this crap myself, basically. So okay, now that I think about it, that was a couple of things we talked about, though. So little
Yeah, you guys
respect
did
back
great.
to the names. No.
What do we think about Soul being framed, or do we think it's gonna end with him ultimately like just everyone being like, Soul did it. All right, next thing in our lives, move on. Soul's the bad guy. No such thing as Sith. Here we go. Like, is that how they're gonna wrap this thing up?
Wow. I imagine that though, like some Sith or somebody comes and cleans up and they kill Soul and then make it look like almost like samurai-esque, like committed like seppuku or something afterwards,
Ooh.
like some kind of cover up like that.
That'd be interesting.
And then the Jedi just accept that, and we'll see. Any thoughts, Anthony?
that'd be wild. I definitely could see the Jedi kind of forcibly like removing him. He's the only one that could have done anything there. He was the only master, as far as I'm aware. He's obviously very talented, so I have no doubt that the Jedi Council would know that. I also want to call to attention that the one scene with Vernestra talking to a senator from the Outer Rim or Mid Rim, but that that whole sequence there, I feel like is important. I don't feel like they threw it in there for no reason, but I feel like it's kind of this Jedi focus on the political aspect of things rather than one of our own just murked a squad of Jedi, I feel like that's going to come up again with this vote that's going to impact the Jedi that Vernestra was focused on. There's been hints to it throughout this show that the Jedi are very worried about their their um their image in the political atmosphere of the galaxy. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I specifically noted that scene when I rewatched today because I was like, it was 8 seconds long or something, but I was like, why even really put this in here unless it has meaning? Because it was specifically talking about, the Jedi, or they're always in good standing, they're always pretty agreeable, they're always in a good light, whatever. And this is just some interference by a senator that's vying for power. That's all. And I'm
yeah,
intrigued to see maybe like we just get more on the political side because we haven't gotten a ton of politics really at all so far, besides the Jedi like wondering about their own standing in politics. So I
Yeah.
would like to see some, Senate stuff or something
Yeah,
as
I
well.
was
And
just thinking that. But to
exactly, like maybe
see the
the Sith are
chamber.
in the Senate. Yeah, like the Sith are interfering already, like Palpatine and Plagueis ultimately do, at least in Legends. So maybe even like, the senator they're referencing is a Sith or something, or like working in the dark side, or like this is just someone trying to interfere. I don't know. It'd be cool, but the Sith are working in the background right now, man, for sure. Like they're around. It's 100 years till they wipe out the Jedi. So they're not just doing nothing. They're out there doing something. So
Yeah.
very intrigued to see if we get just some singular scenes of the Sith, or just yeah, I'd love to.
It's just yeah, it makes me appreciate the Darth Bane books because I mean we don't get a whole lot of context of what is going on for these past 1,000 years of the Sith, but just knowing that they are out there, um, slowly but surely kind of building like resources, wealth, kind of like they've got basically like private funds of themselves. They're building up stuff way in the background, making connections in the outer rim and all of that. It would be really nice to see some like potentially like Plagueis talking with some of the Trade Federation, for example, even early on, and not even necessarily as Plagueis, but as Hago Damask of Damask Holdings, and seeing some of that.
Mm-hmm.
But just anything like that at all, um, would be really cool. I mean, Star Wars is definitely like a large portion of it is about politics, like within Star Wars, and it makes it really interesting. It makes it a drama. I mean, those are some of my favorite shows. It's why I like Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon right now as well. It's like a lot of basically just politics inside their own like kind of realm to some extent, right? But either way, yeah, excited to see what happens next.
Yeah, even like other hit shows. I guess The Boys is a lot of politics. Whenever they're not showing you a lot of graphic scenes, there's some
Yeah.
politics in there.
Are you watching
Yeah,
The
for sure.
Voice?
I am. I
Yeah.
am. It's solid.
Right before the stream, I actually was eating and watching the most recent episode, so that's cool. There's some wild stuff going on in there. That like borderline uncomfortable, but you gotta
No,
expect it.
uncomfortable. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
whatever.
Wow. Um, yeah. So I think for the most part, a lot of us believe that the flashback, which would make sense, we gotta see what else kind of went on with Brendock and all that. Um, but I guess what else, if we're getting a couple different things this episode, if we're getting the flashback, um, what will happen from a story perspective for current day after the flashback? Assuming we should get some time, I would assume like about, I would say probably half the episode, if I had to guess, will be the flashback, based on what needs to be told. They already established the setting of the flashback in episode 3, which takes about a third of a time when you're going to do that for an entire episode. And with that episode being about 30 minutes, I'd expect another flashback in the same predetermined earlier setting to be around that 20-minute mark, leaving about half that time for the rest of the episode. So I guess that's a good chunk. It's almost, I mean, based on the length of the past few episodes, it's definitely going to feel like almost like twice the length of a normal episode. But we'll see. It depends on what's happening, because there's definitely episodes of shows where it's like, wow, it was an hour long. Like it felt like it was like 20 minutes, or it was 30 minutes, but I feel like I've been here all day type of thing.
I don't know. Like that's the fun part. 'Cause there's so many loose ends that I just genuinely have no clue like which direction I'm gonna take. Like I mentioned May earlier. I talked about OSHA, how she's kind of touching the darkness. Ernestra, it's got something sketchy. Like ultimately, this is gonna be a setup for the finale. I'm hoping that they just answer a ton of questions today, and then really set up for just a maybe few conflicts in the final episode where we know exactly what motivations are. So I guess what I think would happen today is, aside from flashbacks, is just characters really fleshing out their motivations once and for all. Maybe an episode similar to the last one, but just with more ramping up to whatever's going to come in episode 8. Because I would
Yeah.
assume it's a final conflict. Like people can't walk out of here alive. There's no season 2 guaranteed. I don't think so. People are going to die, and you got to set that up for today.
Yeah. And how do you guys think that? I mean, this series, if any series, has been has at least done TV well compared to some of the other shows. Even some of, in my opinion, in that there's always some kind of flash or not flashback. What is it? Like right at like tease right at the end of the episode. Always a cliffhanger. There's always a cliffhanger. What's the cliffhanger for the like? This is gonna be the last cliffhanger if this is only one season. So I'd expect something crazy because they've already done some pretty big cliffhangers. I'm predicting like maybe that's when they first introduce tease a different Sith, a second Sith in this show. Just like it's just what if it's just a pan shot of behind of just like a Sith just like walking in the frame, kind of like almost Darth Maul esque, just kind of like seeing something unfold in front of him and like realizing like oh shit, stuff's about to go down, like it's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the same boat there as. Otherwise, like, if not, that's probably not what it is. Like, that'd be cool. But at the end of the day, who knows? But
Yeah,
otherwise,
one of like 1,000 teases they could do.
right, exactly. Like, there's just, I don't know, so many characters they could do it with. I don't know, man. I don't have any big predictions right now. Anthony?
I think it has to be a Darksider. I think it has to be some sort of Darksider. We do know that Leslie wrote this show to just be completed, so that for me makes me more excited because, like with Ahsoka, we kind of knew that it was going to end on a cliffhanger, and I like kind of when shows kind of emphasize conclusion, even if there's a plan for another season, so that you have that satisfaction instead of having to wait like another 2 or 3 years. And so I'm kind of expecting that they're going to set up to tie things tight, because even if there's a season 2, I heard that Leslie was saying like season 2 would be its own thing, and so I'm thinking like they're going to set up to tie up the sense. I'm leaning towards the Sith Lord. I don't think the big reveal is the High Council. I think the High Council might show up in this episode, just because like I'm kind of thinking about like how they did the Ahsoka episode, like I think it was episode 4, where Ahsoka was like, "Oh, we're gonna jump the hyperspace," and then they like spent the entire episode somewhere else. Kind of like a shortened version of that, where like while they're in hyperspace, Sol and May at least, while they're in hyperspace, they have that flashback. They get out of hyperspace. You see Coruscant, and then you flip back to Kimir and Osha, and they're having a conversation. Like he's walking in, and is like, "Ah, so you found the mask, haha," and she's like, "You're not wearing your shirt again. That's pretty cool." So I don't know.
Is Soul going to Coruscant?
Yeah.
How do we know that?
He said he was going to make. He said it's time for me to make my stand in front of the High Council and like kind of
right,
confess what I
okay.
did.
He will
That's where you
try.
have like that.
No.
I thought he went back on that because he like ditched the Jedi that were trying to come see him in hyperspace. They were like, "Don't turn off your transponder." Maybe I just
Yeah.
interpreted that wrong, but
That's how
that'd be
that's
cool. I
actually
hope
how
he's
I
going to Coruscant.
interpreted it. That's actually I thought that yeah, I thought there's a different motive. That's actually kind of how I interpret it. So now I'm like really curious. Like, is he facing the High Council or is he?
I thought he went back on that, but maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know now.
Maybe I misinterpreted it. That's how I interpreted it. I think I was too consumed by. I really love the shot where something jumps out of hyperspace and something jumps in, like the end of Bad Batch, where they like
Yeah.
leave Cantus and then the fleet shows up. Like when they did that in this episode, I was just like my brain shut off. I was like, "Ha! Spaceships do spaceship things." But
Yeah.
I may have misinterpreted that.
Now We'll see. KG says, I
Oh
thought,
no, I love when they go to Coruscant. It's so cool.
yeah. Yeah, I want to see. That's why I really liked actually the first 2 episodes of the series, because I like world building, especially when it's like a fun era. And honestly, my recommendation, okay, not that I know anything, but just as an idea out there, if anyone's listening, is you could just make another show during the High Republic, and then just say like you're gonna make like a trilogy of shows, and they don't necessarily have to connect, but just call it the High Republic, colon the Acolyte, the High Republic,
Yeah.
colon whatever show you want to do next. The just as simple as the Jedi, or whatever
Mundi
else.
Chronicles. Yeah.
But
The Mundi missions. Yeah.
because I wouldn't mind seeing even like, because this is towards the end of the High Republic, like 500 years, right, like before us.
Yeah, this is like right before the end. So 30 years right before Dooku's born too. Do you guys think Dooku is like one of those kids that's like, I'm the High Republic kid, you know? He was one of those kids.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's pretty good.
Tales of the Jedi is so good.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
love Tales of the
it
Jedi.
is.
That's probably one of my favorite projects ever. The Dooku arc. I've seen it so many times.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
so good.
The rewatchability on it is insane.
Yeah,
By the way,
was that-
speaking of animation, guys, you see that there's a new animation that's getting a new animation show.
yeah, they're looking
Oh.
for a new
Yeah.
lead animator, right, or director or something.
Like
If
a
you
production
had to-
designer.
If you had to pick any animated show, like don't predict what you think it will be, but if they told you right now you get to pick an animated show, what are you picking?
Well, it's tough because this is also something I just want to see this in general, but I think that for what it would require, I honestly might prefer it as an animation, but I want to see the Old Republic, like thousands of Jedi, Sith versus Jedi war, because I think that's easier to do really good in animation form. Like honestly, it'd be cool to see it just rather than we get the Clone Wars, we get the Old Republic, and it's just like pretty like rusty, archaic, almost anime style esque. Yeah, just the Sith Wars, something crazy. But how about y'all?
Anthony.
I definitely agree. I think if they do an Old Republic show, it has to be an animation, like just the vast scale of what you want to do with like the Great War type of thing. It would have to be done in animation. But for me personally, I want to see something outside of what we hear. Like between Revenge and A New Hope, there's just a lot going on there. I want to see either like the Luke Temple thing, or because I'm wearing the shirt, that period of time between Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, kind of do like what Clone Wars did for the prequels, but for the sequels. I think there's a lot of stuff that just hasn't been filled in there yet that I would love to see.
Yeah,
Galaxy.
I would do something similar to that. If I would structure it pretty interestingly. Like same amount of episodes as Clone Wars per season. But I'd do like first 2 seasons in between 6 and 7. Luke maybe establishing the Order as the first season, then Kylo's fall as the second season, and then third season is like in between. It's in between not 7 and 8. You can't do it just during the sequels at some point, and then maybe the 4th season is a little bit after the 9th movie. Just basically that whole era, that whole cast of characters, just give them an animated show and stretch it out. I think they need it. I think it'd be really interesting, especially Luke, Ben's fall, him going through that, just fleshing out his exile more. I think that could really, really help for just all that, because I don't know, I enjoy those movies, but I think I'd enjoy them more with some animated content. Yeah, just really stretch it out. You could just do all 4 seasons, all 5 seasons, whatever.
Yeah,
between 6 and 7, but yeah.
Yeah, it'd be nice. I mean, it just doesn't. That era doesn't have as much content, like for us to currently consume of it.
It's got nothing in terms of like shows, except for after what, like Mando and Ahsoka. There's really nothing that with Ben Solo at all besides comics.
You got Resistance. He shows up in Resistance like once or twice.
I can't do it.
Really? Yeah. Sorry.
No, I haven't gotten to the first season. The first season just is really rough. I've heard the second season is like a much better like step up,
We are
but
not
I
the target audience, I don't think.
no, we're not. Definitely
No.
not. It's definitely like lower, like almost
Mhm.
what's the Jedi show for the High Republic, the
Uh,
young Jedi Adventures or
Young
whatever. It's kind of
Adventures.
like it's kind of that
Um,
same target audience.
for sure.
Before I forget, I totally remembered the Old Republic is cool. I'd see it at any medium, but like something that maybe not as many people would say though, which I really would be curious, or even just get a book. I talked a little bit with Timothy Zahn on this prospect, would be super cool. But the in between with Ron and Ezra for that like decade of time in the new galaxy. So much like just the idea of a new galaxy within Star Wars, like so cool. Like give me a book, but please be the animation. That'd be so cool. I know it's a specific request, but I think there's a lot you could genuinely do with that could be fresh and exciting and potentially even like really grow just the Star Wars audience.
I think a novel there would be really good, especially focused around like Thrawn's a novel guy kind
Well,
of. So.
Timothy said he is open, so reach out. Reach
Absolutely, just have him write one for my channel or something. I'll read it out. I'll do a little audiobook on my channel. Make it 20 minutes. That's all I need.
Oh man, yeah. I would love to see a show focused on Ezra. That would make me super happy.
Well, do I have the show for you?
Is it called Star Wars Rebels?
Almost time for another
No,
rewatch.
It's time for another rewatch. Yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, of course, I'd also like Old Republic, but yeah, I don't know. I've never been the biggest fan of the Old Republic. I don't know. Maybe I just gotta see it in action.
I want all of it. I just wanted all of it.
Just give me it. I'll watch it.
I want all of it. I'll pay for it. I can't pay for it, but I'll pay for it. I want it.
I mean, lightsaber cool, right? But some of the best aspects of the Old Republic, I do like the lore aspect and just how deep they like get really sweaty with the like force powers and all that. And that's why some of the things I do appreciate about the Acolyte especially is not being afraid to put in some unique, like the light whip and the I can never think of the name, but just introducing new force powers, floating infinitely. What was it called again? Probably asked like
The
4 times.
Rash Vow.
Rash Vow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool, and it'd be cool to see potentially even another, maybe less common force power or weapon in one of these next 2 episodes. That could be cool. Like, what if the second Sith also has some kind of unique field? But yeah, also like the Cortosis helmet. I mean, that gets slept on. I mean, there's people out there knocking on this show, ripping on lore, but I mean, they included a Cortosis helmet and followed it pretty well. That like, yeah, it puts out lightsabers, but those same people won't compliment something like that. That's all I'm saying. But okay, sorry, a little tangent.
You're right.
No, go off. I would headbutt a lightsaber too if I had a helmet like that. So
It's
I mean,
the
honestly,
coolest thing I've ever seen. Oh my gosh, I would love it.
also the stills from that shot are some of the coolest things that I've ever seen. Like the still, like just the lightsaber bursting out is so cool.
Sure.
Oh, I'm so happy that Cortosis is canon. Like, you can do so much with that. I want to see some like Cortosis like lined like ship that's just like a tank, just crazy, taking the TIE defenders to the next level.
That'd be so tight.
Dibs on the what if Vader built his armor out of Cortosis video eventually.
Yeah.
Sorry.
There's a lot that can be done.
Sorry, I'm calling dibs on what if General Grievous built his armor out of Cortosis. So yeah, you can have Vader all you want.
I'm running out of options here. No, okay, I get what if the Mandalorian built his armor out of Cortosis? Okay,
There you go.
All right, we
all
get a piece of the pie.
What if Basil steals the Cortosis helmet this episode?
Yeah, what about Basil? I think that's an important topic.
What was that little guy up to last episode? He was just moving around.
It looked like
he was fixing the ship.
it looks like
kicking May.
he knows, and he's like getting upset. I do like that. Like, I feel like any Star Wars medium should at least at some point have some kind of comedic relief or aspect. I think it's always been there. At the end of the day, this like Star Wars is you don't need to try to be like other shows. Just be like yourself, and when you stick to some of your roots like that, really shines well. But when are we gonna barbecue him up?
Well, does every movie have a comedic like we got Jar Jar in the prequels, we got C-3PO's big comedic relief, Chewbacca sometimes in the red, like it's a big part of Star Wars is just to have a little funny little guy that is just kind of moving around. You got to switch over to it once in a while. Pacing might get a little weird. You got Jar Jar over here is pretty whatever, but no, I think a necessity of Star Wars sometimes is to be a little bit bad, and I think that's a good thing. It makes it more, it's just,
Yeah, for sure.
it's goofy. It's goofy in the best way. Sometimes it's got to be goofy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where-
Bro, you said that like he stepped on your foot. My God.
Me?
You gotta fry him up. That was
no!
like
I literally have on my other screen right now Acolyte Basil merch. Like I'm seeing if there's anything I can buy. I love this guy.
He's adorable. I love him.
It was all do fun. I mean, this is the Acolyte. It's a little darker. I'm just being realistic. If Kamir got a hold of him, I mean, what's in that stew? I mean, that could have been his sibling for all I know.
Dude, he could make like a cloak. He could make like a.
Oh, this is turning dark.
Make like Basil shoulder pads or something. It'd be nice,
Wow.
Just wrap it around. He's not wearing shoulders or like sleeves, Gotta keep
He's
the
not
shoulders
wearing anything.
warm. Yeah, gotta keep. Jesus.
At least half the episode.
This is wonderful.
Well, we've got like 25 or so minutes, not much time left, so we'll see. Definitely we'll want to hear what you guys have to say about the episode afterward. Anything else we want to kind of touch on, or anything we haven't talked about yet, or something if you see anything in chat too?
I don't know. Well, this is not going to be anything of substance, but I was watching the episode and something happened. I was like, oh, I gotta have a theory here. And I just like literally can't remember it for the life of me. So I like scanned through the episode and literally cannot remember what I wanted to say. But yeah, I came prepared with one thing and I don't remember what it was.
Well,
Unfortunately.
you can look for it.
I have been. I literally not a clue.
I hate when you have like a good idea and then you forget it, what you're gonna say. That's like the worst. That's like one of the most annoying feelings there are. Like that's like worse than like a bad itch, honestly.
It is.
Yeah,
it's hard.
Oh well. Hopefully I've still been good today. Still able to answer some questions.
Oh yeah, you've been great, man. It's just nice having just other people on that are big Star Wars nerds. Like, let's face it, just because just the different kind of perspectives, but also like just fun ideas that can kind of be piggybacked off each other. Like, but there's such a vast knowledge of lore, and we know so many of these terms, so many of these characters. Sometimes we aren't thinking about them as much. So when one of you say something that might like trigger my mind to be racing, or like vice versa, I'm like, oh, like, well, it could also go this way, or that reminds me, So that's why it's fun. That's why I do like to try to bring other people on too. I think it does kind of add to the fun.
Yeah.
I love it because it's 100%. Because like there's all of us talking at the same time that like I can come up with like half the things, and I hear something and I'm like, I didn't think about it like that, and then like something else comes out and then like but
yeah, so fun, so fun. I wouldn't even like, I stream because it's fun. Like, it's fun to talk. Wow. Okay, getting on a tangent here, but it's fun. Even if you're not necessarily streaming to like a ton of people or something, if you've got stuff you want to say, even if it's just like one person just hanging out, give it a shot, give it a chance. I mean, if you're doing content, you're probably starting off doing it for fun at the very least, and it keeps being fun when you keep it fun.
Yeah, I didn't go into this
110%.
ever thinking I was going to be doing it as a job. So yeah,
Right?
for sure. It was really just let's see what happens here. Have some
Definitely.
fun.
Heck yeah. Um, Bly says, "Does Pent have lollipops?"
No, Pajama Dooku does though. The Pajama Dooku from Battlefront, Pajama Dooku,
Oh, yeah,
lollipops.
yeah. But that's my favorite skin, actually.
It's my favorite skin too.
You use them a lot. I use Obi-Wan on the light side, and then Dooku. But, like,
I
I've
don't,
got
I don't like Obi-Wan. I like him, not in Battlefront.
what?
I know. Hot take.
I'm a Rey main, so I can't say anything. I'm a Rey and Dooku main.
This
Just
guy.
going crazy.
I mean, I can't even complain. I mean, I can't say I'm an Anakin main. Like a loser, like a basic loser. I'm an Anakin main. The dark
Anakin
side,
is pretty in that
Palpatine.
game. Anakin is kind of OP though. Like they had to nerf him. They had to. That
I
was one of
know.
the final updates they did. Is they nerfed his like main ability where he like picks up everyone, like because it did too much
Yeah.
damage.
Yeah.
Were you guys there
Palpatine's
playing
on the
that
dark
game
side.
when he dropped? Were you guys playing when Anakin dropped for the first time? Because
Yes.
if you were, you understand that he was just broken. He was
Yeah.
so broken.
And to be fair, I didn't really start using him till because you couldn't even get him. Everyone was just spamming
Yeah.
Anakin. Like it was
Yeah,
tough.
it's still like that to just play any hero though. It's kind of tough.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
the
I mainly
sweats
do
on
the
that
co-op
game.
mode where it's just 4 people though. That's it's just kind of a
Yeah.
chill, laid back.
Yeah,
experience at this
that's
point
way
for
more.
me.
That yeah, I would say that's honestly way more fun, and it really kind of lets you kind of like almost insert yourself into the world of Star Wars, and that's why I like some of these games so much, like Jedi Survivor. Coming back to it though, is it really just like I don't feel like I'm playing a game necessarily. Like I actually feel like I'm in Star Wars, like experiencing a story of itself, and ultimately that's what I'm looking for in any piece of Star Wars medium, whether it's a book or a TV show like the one right here. So I want to just kind of escape into the world of Star Wars, a galaxy far, far away, and just kind of take it all in, escape reality for a second.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I got to get back into reading novels. I love it. They're great. I have them all in here somewhere. Yeah, just tucked away like
There's a
10 of
lot.
them at least. Oh, I know. There's especially once you start looking at the High Republic. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Have you read some of them?
There's
I have not.
no. I've
I've just
got
read
like
like a
the
200-page overview of the High Republic. I know what happens, but I don't know the
Mhm.
characters per se, like
Mhm.
about them.
yeah. Him and I are talking about the same book.
I read it
Yeah,
all in one evening.
I haven't even read that, so that's where my
I did it all just
knowledge
for my
is
one
lacking.
video that I made. Yeah.
Wow, that's dedication right there. And I thought my little
Yeah.
like research reports into like
It's
yeah.
not common that I do all that. Right? It's definitely not that common to do all that, but yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of fun though. Everyone kind of has their own like style. I think a lot of the recent or one of the recent videos for me, it's like I really heavily leaned on my knowledge of like just playing the KOTOR games and kind of relating because I really like that dynamic just of like cycles almost in the Star Wars universe of like ultimately to some extent even during the prequels, even if it's only two Sith, it's Sith versus Jedi. It's always Sith versus Jedi, but like where it kind of comes together and like there's hypocrisy almost on both sides, and I really like specifically like that aspect in KOTOR too. But just how the different knowledge you guys can kind of pull from and relate from in the universe itself. Because I don't know jack about the High Republic really outside of the show, and it's making me between this and Jedi Survivor, it's starting to convince me, to give it more of a chance.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
I would
different
really
when
love
it's all
this.
novels. Yeah. You gotta
Yeah,
really dedicate
I
yourself to it.
yeah. I really would love to see them put more into the outer edges of canon. High Republic, post sequels or sequels.
Yes.
Like I love that era between the Revenge of the Sith and New Hope. There's just so much stuff there, but I'd love to see them
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, I agree.
just a little.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree, and I think that's. I mean, to me, I had this conversation with a buddy of mine, but like right now, still, even with the Acolyte going on, like I think it's, in my opinion, it's still fair to say that like Star Wars, like the story right now, like is the Mandoverse, right? Like that's kind of the main Star Wars story going on right now for the most part. Is like because we got the relating shows, um, to some extent, like it almost feels like that's kind of like the story going right now. Like, and I know we're getting like the Ray movie and all that, and some of these other shows. But the point being, like these other shows, like Skeleton Crew, is that not another Mandoverse esque story? Like they're really, kind of cultivating this story. And I guess what I'm getting at is it's impressive that the Acolyte has been able to like keep me entertained. Because I have been asking for shows outside of there, kind of similar to Anthony. I think we've been kind of begging, yeah, that whole like during the Empire reign, we've got a lot of options there now. Maybe some new shows would be good. But yeah, that in between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens, that's another long gap that isn't as explored and what we're kind of currently exploring. So, what was I getting at though? Mandoverse is it kind of feels almost like it's the current like story in my mind. But like, what do you guys think about that perspective? I guess.
I think you're technically right. I'm like just not as, I guess, engaged with it right now, just because we haven't gotten a ton of content on that verse or that universe area in quite a while. Like Mando season 3 was kind of the last thing, right? For that.
Yeah.
We've gotten announcements
Yeah.
for what's upcoming, but it's all been kind of
Well,
convoluted with Mando.
Ahsoka. Ahsoka was last.
True. Okay, yeah, that
Just
fits
this
in
last
right
October.
there. I guess, yeah. It's just once it starts actually like coming together much more, I'll see it that way. But, like right now, it just feels like kind of like a few different stories. Like Boba was his own story. I know Mando in season 2 connected with everyone, but now he seems to be like on his own story. So like once they start connecting back up with each other again, it'll feel more like that. But yeah, I know what you mean.
I think yeah. What I was getting at is like there's a lot of one-off shows like the Bad Batch is cool, but it's not necessarily like it's like directly tying in. Sure, some cameos show up, but it's not like happening, I guess, at the same
Sure.
time at a lot of these other shows, almost like congruently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I got on that.
15-minute countdown. 15-minute countdown. I think it's almost time to get into our ready positions. Better question from Bly. What would you like to see out of this era in the future? Talking about the High Republic just in general. What would you do if they did a second season or like a second High Republic show, though? If you guys had
If they did a second season, I don't think you can do any more Jedi being like, "What the heck? Was that a Sith?" I think that's a one-time thing. Because the second time it happens, you go, "Okay, that was a Sith." Like they, do in the Phantom Menace. I would do it solely focused on the Sith, like just what they're doing. I think that'd be interesting. Maybe I don't know if May. Do you think May and Osha survive this series? Because that's a really big question I have.
I'm gonna go with no. I think I'm gonna go with that's part of the. At the end, I'm gonna say they take each other out in a sad way.
That'd be interesting.
I could see that. Yeah. I don't think they make it. I think Kimir is the sole survivor.
I don't think anyone survives.
I lean towards that. I think even Kimir might get greased by a real Sith, or not to say it because Kimir is super strong, but like,
I know what you mean though.
Like
A Sith Lord?
A Sith Lord?
Yeah, like a Darth, like a like been
Yeah.
brewing, been cooking, like actually cares that they're a Sith, has purpose other than like complete selfishness. I mean, the Sith are selfish, but they also at least have a general goal in mind.
Right. Selfish with galactic takeover in mind, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I mean that's basically it.
Yeah.
I think with the second episode, or not second episode, second season of Acolyte, like I think they'd have to focus solely on the Sith master plan. And so you could do like a show, obviously you can incorporate someone new into it. I think new characters would be necessary. But like for your action, you could do action with like this is interacting with other Force users like Baron Dosages or the Witches of Dathomir, just showing that they're interacting or even fighting. Like, just the Sith kind of setting up what will become eventually Palpatine and Plagueis taking over the Republic. So, I mean, you could do that.
And some of that political talk we were talking kind of earlier too, of like those back behind the door deals with some of the Hutts maybe, or the Trade Federation, or just whatever.
Like Andor
even like
with Sith instead of like Rebellion, kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah, which honestly, that I'm a big lightsaber action guy, but if they did something like that, that could be genuinely my favorite thing. Like that could be better than just about anything. Because I love that. I love the drama aspect.
Well, that's what the Plagueis novel largely is. It's, you know, most of the action is him either wiping out his family or like just, you know, some senator, but there's not, you know, there's no like Jedi Sith fight. So like if they just incorporated that type of story, I'm not big on like adapt a Plagueis novel. Like that's a cool book, like, but just similar approach politically.
I kind of am, but use some of those ideas at the very least. But
I mean, I'd love it. Yeah. Just like not a necessity.
Yeah.
Question for you guys. Let's say Tenebris and or Plagueis show up and they are human. Is that a big problem for you? Instead of the alien?
I'd say yeah. Not as much for Tenebris, but for Plagueis, I really like that he's a Mun. So if Plagueis was a human, I'd probably be like, what the F, bro? But if it was Tenebris, I wouldn't really care that much.
I think I'm
per se.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty similar.
I think it'd just be like for action sequences, you know, a Mun that would be tough. But again, I don't think I would be shocked
just
if we
use
did
CGI.
like,
Come on,
Plagueis. Yeah. I'm just because there is one mystery actor cast that is a human that has played villains in the past. So like I don't think it'd be Plagueis, but yeah, I'd be totally cool with it being like Tenebris.
Okay.
I think Leslie is big enough of a Legends fan where she wouldn't just be like, haha, they're this character now or a human now. Like I think she'd probably find a way to make it work.
I agree.
Even if it's like the puppet head had to fall off a couple times during filming. I'm sure she'd find a way to make it work because she seems like the type of person that people have been asking for a director.
True.
Yeah. I also could work around by like I'm okay with. I mean, a dark like the Dark Lord of the Sith. Like if the Dark Lord of the Sith shows up in this show, like don't even need to pull out your lightsaber necessarily to clean it up.
Yeah. Oh,
like,
true. Okay.
You could probably just use force powers if done right. Like Kamir is super strong. It's tough to know. Like he's very skilled with a lightsaber, clearly, and he's definitely strong with the Force too, which allows him to do it. But it's tough to know, like, if like the Dark Lord of the Sith, whether like that's Tenebris or Plagueis, like, can he just break his bubble almost when he's not expecting it, and wipe him out stealthily? And I'm just realizing we're like 10 minutes away, so if we want to, we probably want to wrap up here in a little bit. But any thoughts on that?
I'm good.
No, I think you're right. I think you're right on that.
Well, we've got a lot of answers sure to be answered. Wait, answers being answered. I did this last time.
Yeah,
questions to be answered. We'll see what kind of. I don't want to necessarily like have boxes to check, but I think there's certainly some things that we probably do need checked off as far as like especially like the episode 3 answers. So we'll see what happens. Thank you those of y'all hanging out in the chat. We'll be back next week, and yeah, excited to see what happens this episode. Thanks again, Anthony and Cooper, for showing up. Make sure to go check out their channels, and yeah, see you guys next week. Peace out, everyone.
See you guys.